Welcome into the In the Money podcast for Saturday, August 17th. Tom Leach along with Jim Goodman, Keeneland's Director of Wagering Development. We're looking at the Del Mar card, headlined by the Grade 1 Pacific Classic. They also have the Grade 1 Del Mar Oaks. So a nice card. The pick 4 starts in the 8th race with the Grade 3 Torrey Pine. 3-year-old fillies going a mile on the turf, so we will start there. How'd you see the Torrey Pine, Jim?
Well, I think Fighting Mad for Baffert's going to be the big favorite here off that near miss last time out, and just because it's Baffert. I kind of like Classic Fit here with Giroux for Stidham. This horse has run at 5 different racetracks, has won 3 races out of 3 at the distance of a mile on different surfaces. One at Presque Isle on the synthetic, and one at Monmouth, and one at Gulfstream. So big change in Monmouth versus Gulfstream. So I don't think the Del Mar track will throw anything at her that she hasn't faced, and she ran really well. And Mother Goose got beat by Dunbar Road, had the lead to the top of the stretch and gave it up at 17-1. So I really like the shipper in here, Classic Fit. Fighting Mad is my second choice for Baffert. Gary West, obviously, she's well bred and has. They tried her in the Miss Preakness and threw a bomb there, but came back and ran well at Del Mar in the prep for this. So she's going to be the favorite, probably 8-5 or so. And then sneaking out for Keith DeSormo and Drayden Van Dyke is my other horse that I'll use when we get to the pick 4. Has a chance to move up from the last race. Hollywood Hills out-finished her last time, but sneaking out's got a little bit of an advantage as far as positional speed. So that's the 3 that I like. Mike Smith's horse, Into Chocolate. You never throw out Mike Smith's horse, but looks like she may be a step below these. But Classic Fit over Fighting Mad would be my exact in the Torrey Pines.
I could not get past Fighting Mad. I took a long look at Classic Fit, but I like the 90 buyer last time at Del Mar. I'm like you. I don't know what happened in that race at Pimlico, but if you just draw a line through that, she looks awfully strong. I like the Bullet Work, too. That's a classic Baffert move there on the 11th of August. So I think she's likely to run big. Classic Fit, though, is dangerous. I thought Kim K had a little bit of a shot. If you want to look for a price in there, you could consider that one. But I ended up on Fighting Mad for the Torrey Pines. The 9th race, the Grade 1 Del Mar Oaks. Seems like this is always just a great betting race. Big field. Same again this year. They go a mile and an eighth on the turf. It's 3-year-old fillies. And I took a shot with a bit of a price here. Hard Legacy for Norm Cassie. I was at Churchill with a Stephen Foster card when this horse won the Regret, and that was a nice field. Varenka came back to win at Saratoga that finished 3rd. Winter Sunset's a nice horse that was a runner-up. So that was a good field that Hard Legacy beat. It was her best buyer figure yet of an 85, and she's had plenty of time off to think maybe she could improve on that or even repeat it. She's going to be dangerous. Chad Brown's the one to beat certainly with Cambier Park, but I don't think that one's the next Sister Charlie or anything. So I think she's one to beat certainly, but I don't think any cinch there. I thought Mucho Unusual, the 10, Lady Prancelot, the 11, both had a shot. Strike at Dawn woke up in her last race, and that was her first time over the Del Mar grass. So just on that angle, I'm going to throw that one in there for a price. And then I'm going to throw in Hidden Message as well, just on the Pratt's taking the ride, and it's a horse coming in from overseas. So could be, never know what that could be. So I'm just on that mystery angle on Pratt. I'm going to throw that one in. So I'm going deep on the pick 4 here, but Hard Legacy is kind of the lukewarm win pick for me for a price. How about you in the Del Mar Oaks?
I thought she had a shot in here. I think there are a few horses that you can make a case for. But when I looked at the 4 races and I looked at the favorites in each one, I thought that Cambier Park was the strongest favorite. That last race, she may not be Sister Charlie, but she only got beat by 2 3/4 lengths to Concrete Rose, who came right back and won. She's lost to Concrete Rose twice in her last 6 races, and she's won, or last 5 races, she's won the other 3. So Concrete Rose didn't come west. Competed well at this level in the Belmont Oaks last time out, dropping back from 1 1/4 to 1 1/8, where she's 1 for 1, the wonder again at Belmont, the prep for the Belmont Oaks. So I'm going to take a stand with Chad Brown. I could do worse. He was 4-4
Yes, you could.
last Saturday at Arlington Park. We forgot to mention we both gave out the pick 4 last week.
That's right. Nobody got rich, but we did.
Hey, $20.50. I hit it twice because I got a scratch in the last leg.
I ended up playing for myself. I ended up playing the pick 5 just because I thought it was going to be chalky, and then ended up having the Romans horse in the front leg, and so the pick 5 did pay, I think, about $120 or something, so it was decent, but very chalky day.
Yeah, I think Chad, anytime he ships to West Coast, you got to look at him. And I think Canberra Park fits well here. I think she wins this race, and I'm gonna single her in the pick 4. I can't argue with anything that you said, especially Pratt taking the horse coming from overseas, because she's an unknown quantity, and Simon Callahan is a great trainer, and Pratt's the best rider out there on turf. So I'd take a long, hard look at the 14 if I weren't convinced on the 1.
10th race is the Grade 1 Pacific Classic. 3-year-olds and up, they go 1.25 miles on the main track. And you've got Seeking the Soul, Pavel, Quip, the top 3 choices. Not a whole lot separating them on the morning line. How do you see it?
Yeah, I used all 3 of those. It scares me a little bit that my top 3 choices are horses that are shipping in, because that's not usually the case in the Pacific Classic. But the West Coast older dirt division is not that strong right now. So I've heard a lot of people on Twitter say that Pavel's sitting on a big race, but I heard the same thing before the Met Mile, and I heard the same thing before the Suburban. He seems like he's the kind of horse that's always sitting on a big race. I love Quip here. I loved him in the Stephen Foster at 13-1. He almost outdone against Seeking the Soul. Seeking the Soul came rolling out the outside. Seeking the Soul loves Churchill Downs, so it's like a home court win for him. Neither one of them been Del Mar, so I don't know how they'll take to this. But I love the buyer pattern of Quip of 94, 99, 104 in the last 3 races. If he takes another step forward and runs a 106 or 107, I don't think they're going to beat him here. But in the pick 4, I'm going to use Pavel. I'm going to use Seeking the Soul. I'm also going to use Campaign, the West Coast horse, for John Sadler. And it was just the chance that the pace falls apart and he comes from out of it. Bejarano's a good rider, obviously. He's got a home court advantage. He's 1-for-1 at Del Mar. Cutting back for 1.5 miles, should have plenty left at the end. So Campaign would be my West Coast horse in there. But I'm going to take Quip for the win in the TVG Pacific Classic.
Jim, I'm right with you on Quip. I like that big buyer figure last time. So back-to-back personal bests for this horse. And I kicked myself for not having him in the Stephen Foster, because I like Seeking the Soul. And that was a nice exacta with Quip at 13-1. And you're not going to get that this time. But I think Quip's got a big shot. I think Rodolphe Brisset's doing a nice job with his horse. And I think he's got still some upside left. Seeking the Soul always seems to do his best, I think, at Churchill. Not like it's not the only place he's run well, but I think he could be vulnerable on that angle. Pavel I'm using. I'm going to also throw in Higher Power. Pratt's riding that horse. Sadler's 23% on turf to dirt, one of the top trainers there, having a good meet. And horse, if you look back at the last dirt start, not too far off the east. So for a price, I'm going to throw that one in as well. They finish up the pick 4 with a non-winners of one other than on the turf, mile 16th for fillies and mares. I didn't see any standouts here. I used 4 horses. Lucky Patriot, who's making a turf debut, actually be a slight win pick for me on the Peter Miller, Flavian Pratt angle. There's the connections. Peter's Kitten, if you can forgive the last race, has a shot in there. The 11 for Doug O'Neill and Eddie Surprise, and then the 8 Salsa Bella. So I'm going to use those 4 when we get to a pick 4, but just no real strong opinion there. How about you?
No, I thought this was a wide open race, so I'm going 60 when we get to the pick 4. 3 of the horses you used. My win pick is probably Peter's Kitten, because that last race was such an aberration and got checked, especially out to mile 3/8. Might not have liked the distance. Also had a tough trip and just didn't finish. 4 races before that were very good, so she bounces back. Lucky Peridot was another one for Peter Miller that I thought had a shot. that would be my top two picks, but I'm going to go 6 deep when we get to pick 4.
So let's go to the pick 4, and it starts in the 8th with the Torrey Pines. What's your ticket look like?
All right, 7th race. I used. The 8th race. Yeah, I did the 7th race. By the way, there is a pick 5 starting the 7th race. So in the Torrey Pines, 367, Classic Fit sneaking out and fighting mad, and then singling the Chad Brown Cambier Park in the 9th race. Going 4 deep, 2, 3, 5, 8. That's 4 we talked about in the 10th race, with my top pick being Quip. But 2, 3, 5, 8 is Quip, Pavel Seeking the Soul, and Campaign. And then 6 deep in the nightcap with 1, 2, 7, 9, 10, 11. So my pick 4 is 3, 6, 7 with 1, with 2, 3, 5, 8, with 1, 2, 7, 9, 10, 11 for a cool $36.
Ended up playing a $45 ticket, and I had to single somewhere to get it affordable. So I singled the Baffert filly in the first leg, Fighting Mad. So I could be done early because she's not a cinch for me, but I'm going to single her. Then I'm going to use, if I can beat Cambier Park, then there's several I want to have a shot with. So I'm going to take 1, 4, 10, 11, 14. 1, 3, 4, 10, 11, 14. 3 is the price horse, I think 20 to 1, the morning line strike at dawn. So 1, 3, 4, 10, 11, 14. Then I'm going to go 2, 3, 5, 6 in the Pacific Classic, all the ones I mentioned, and the same 4 I mentioned in the last leg, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 1 by 6 by 4 by 4 is $96. So what's that? 48 for 50 cents. $48 ticket, that's right. So best of luck with your wagers on the Saturday card. Remember, graded stake, as Jim mentioned, in the 7th race that starts a pick 5 there at Del Mar. Got great racing just around the country, Saratoga, Ellis, Colonial Downs running now. So make sure you have your Keeneland Select account funded when you can't get out to simulcast or out to the track. And we'll be back next week to take a look at the Travers Day card up at Saratoga.
Tom, they've got a really nice pick 5 scheduled for Saturday with all the graded stakes races from Saratoga and Del Mar. So you've got pick 5 that ties
cross-country
together.
deal, yes.
Yeah. So it features the Alabama, the grade 1 at Saratoga. And I'm thinking it was 3 Saratogas and 2 Del Mars, but it may be reversed. But take a look at that when you get to your wagering menu, because that's going to be a nice payoff.
Yeah, that's a good point. You got to find that one. It's a separate entity. It's not for either track, so you've got to go find that by itself. But worth the trouble.
It's called the Cross Country Pick 5. Yes.
Cross Country Pick 5. So make sure you look for that on your Keeneland Select account. We'll be back next week for another edition of the In the Money podcast.